Greetings everyone and welcome. I'm your host Captain Rye, and today's video comes to us courtesy of Storm Surge Alpha, who's playing in the Tier 10 German destroyer Z52 here in World of Warships. As the battle gets underway, it's ranked, which means it's domination mode, and it's a 7v7 matchup with all ships on the team being Tier 10. Now, the Z52 in ranked battle has some pros and some cons. To start with the cons, for what she is, a gunboat destroyer, she's got a slightly larger than normal detection range at 6.1 kilometers versus her brethren in the American and Pan-Asia lines having 5.8 kilometer detection range. So you are going to be seen before you get to see the enemy, especially if you run across something sneaky like the Shimakaze. That said, one of the pros, though, to counteract this, that this boat's got, she's got German cruiser Hydro, which gives you a nice long-range, long-duration hydroacoustic detection range, so that should you run into a cheeky enemy destroyer, gunboat or otherwise, and they decide to pop a smokescreen, you can simply pop your Hydro and start wailing on them. Now, Storm Surge has managed to secure the Bravo cap point, and the enemy team has secured the Charlie cap point. Now, looking at the point situation, it looks like the enemy team managed to secure the Charlie cap point just a second sooner than Storm Surge got into the Bravo cap point. So that does mean that the enemy team currently gets 2 more points that little bit quicker. But as you can see, Storm Surge's team is heading up to the A cap point, where they have encountered the enemy. And they aren't able to capture the A cap point because the destroyer that's up there keeps getting reset. Now, I'm not entirely sure what this destroyer is planning to do up there, but he gets himself killed. So the enemy team is going to take an early lead here and take an early advantage in the destroyer department as they take out one of Storm Surge's destroyers. That's going to give them the points advantage, and of course, as I always say, the team that gets that destroyer advantage, especially early on in the game, can usually go on to win victory, simply because it means the battleships and the cruisers have less to worry about when it comes to torpedoes and having to hunt down those darn sneaky little quick boats that can cap really quickly. Of course, it does all come down to the rest of the team. And at this point, looking at the minimap situation, it looks like the vast majority of the enemy team has all gone up to the A cap point. As Storm Surge comes around this island here through this channel towards the C cap point, he spots an enemy Shimakaze. Now, Shimakaze out in the open, really well within detection range here. There's not much this guy can do except try and run away. The problem for him, though, is that this is a Z52. So Storm Surge pops his hydroacoustic, spots all of those torpedoes coming in there, and of course, as the Shimakaze is trying to lay a smokescreen, even if he does stop and is in that smokescreen, it's not going to do him any good, as he's well within detection range of that hydroacoustic. So Storm Surge secures his first kill there in the game by taking out that Shimakaze, and now the destroyer situation is once again reasonably equal, as both teams have lost a destroyer. Unfortunately for Storm Surge, Shimakaze did have guns and did know how to use them, so Storm Surge takes a bit of a beating there. Not too bad, but it does now mean you have to start thinking about your gameplay in terms of not going guns ablazing into an engagement unless the enemy ship is lower health than you, or you know for a fact you can win. Enemy team is going to secure the A cap point, so that's going to give them a few more points here early on. But, as I mentioned before, the vast majority of the enemy team went up to the A cap point, which means the C cap point is wide open for the taking without contest. So Storm Surge is going to push in here, and Storm Surge, unlike the team at A, does have some backup down here should one of those ships decide to come down here and cause some problems. All Storm Surge has to do is simply spot them. Now, because there's no way for the enemy team to get down here and contest the capture of C, as soon as they capture this, they're actually going to start gaining more points than the enemy team here. Provided they don't lose any more ships, they should be able to begin to establish a points lead, and there it is. They're gaining 4 points to the enemy team's 2, and that's going to give them that points advantage. Very important when you're playing ranked battle or just a random battle with domination mode, just to get out there and you get those caps. And it's important that you get those caps because having more points coming in more often means that when you do inevitably lose another ship, as they have just lost one of their cruisers, you're not in a terrible situation where you're going to very quickly find yourself losing the battle because you've run out of points. Now, the enemy team has started coming back towards the C cap point. Enemy Des Moines, very dangerous radar cruiser, high rate of fire there. As you can see, he's firing armor piercing, actually, at the friendly Des Moines here. But friendly Des Moines firing high explosive back, and I'm not entirely sure about this decision. The Des Moines firing armor piercing should be firing high explosive because he's firing at a bow on Des Moines. The Des Moines firing high explosive on the friendly team here, he should be firing armor piercing because that Des Moines is broadside on. I mean, seriously. What is going on here? Of course, now that enemy Des Moines has turned hard and away, so firing high explosive would absolutely be the right thing to do before, preferably, he can recover a lot of his health. Storm Surge laying down a smoke screen for his friendly Des Moines here. This is going to be useful, but they do have to watch out for that Zao that's pushing up here. Remember, smoke screen spotting mechanics. If you in your smoke screen, you're not going to be seen unless you fire. And in the case of these two cruisers firing out of that smoke screen, they are more than likely going to be spotted by anything within visual range. The other problem is, if you're in a smoke screen, they work both ways. You can't spot the enemy. So Storm Surge, laying down that smoke screen, is now going to get himself pushing out of this smoke screen, and he's going to see if he can spot that Zao, who was last spotted very, very close, and hopefully he can spot that Des Moines so that the friendly team can finish him off, because he is fairly low health. The Zao, about half health. The Des Moines on the enemy team, very, very low health. Torpedoes coming in there from the Zao, hopefully. Since Storm Surge has spotted them, the cruisers will be able to take advantage of it, but doesn't matter anyway. They run out of steam well short of all those friendly cruisers. Now, Storm Surge has his torpedoes ready to go here. Again, very fast reload. Only 8 of them. They don't do a lot of damage. But if an enemy cruiser, say, gets themselves stuck between a rock and an island, or a rock and a hard place in this case, the torpedoes can be quite useful to force that cruiser to broadside to your friendly cruisers. In the meantime, the enemy team has actually managed to lose another one of their destroyers, and they've lost one of their cruisers now. That's going to be the Des Moines dead. So Storm Surge's team is up on points. If Storm Surge can land a couple of torpedoes on this Zao, which would be really, really wonderful for him, and very, very useful right about now, considering very low health cruiser. But of course, before his torpedoes can even reach that Zao, and they would have impacted, that Zao gets taken out by the Montana on the team. Unfortunately, the Hindenburg on the team, who's got his torpedoes out, has got himself into a bad situation here, with the enemy Republic bearing down on him. And to be honest, I'm gonna give the odds to the Republic here, as the Republic is wailing on him, and has pretty good secondaries which are blazing away. So the Republic manages to take out the friendly Hindenburg. But of course, because Storm Surge's team had that cap advantage, they are up on points, and of course, because they've been killing the enemy ships, they have the advantage here. Now, Storm Surge has got his torpedoes almost up again, and even though they don't do a lot of damage, given how much health the Republic has, these torpedoes, if they land home, should kill him. Now, Storm Surge does something here. He leads that Republic a little bit more than the lead indicator. The Republic is a fast battleship. It's got the speed boost there. I would not have done this based on the fact that this guy is effectively trying to turn around. And as we can see here, that lead indicator, he starts falling back. Again, guys turning around. Now, the question is, are these torpedoes going to hit? It looks like Storm Surge is going to get lucky. He's going to hit with at least 2, maybe 3. Come on, can we get 3? There's 1, there's 2. Not quite for the 3. Little bit disappointing there. Does, however, cause flooding. And because that Republic was on fire earlier and put that flooding out with that Arky, that guy is going to continue to flood. The question is he going to flood to death? And it does certainly look like that's going to be the case, and yes it is. So the Republic is dead, and now that just leaves an enemy Hindenburg in the C cap point and 1 lone destroyer up at the A cap point. And that lone destroyer at the A cap point is chasing down the other friendly destroyer on Storm Surge's team. Now, Storm Surge tries to get a reset on the cap on this Hindenburg, but his shots don't quite get there fast enough. So that, unfortunately, has resulted in the Hindenburg capturing that zone and Storm Surge being detected from firing his guns. He does, however, have a smoke screen. If he needed to, he could drop off detectability there, but look at that. Drops off detectability. That Hindenburg already had him zeroed in, lands a massive cap. A massive hit right onto Storm Surge, causing him some serious damage. At this point, Storm Surge needs to sit back and just try and torpedo this guy, and preferably keep him spotted for the Montana. Now, the Montana did manage to land a hit on that Hindenburg, and you'll notice that there are no more enemy destroyers. So that Montana really doesn't have any excuses when it comes to playing against this ship. As long as the Hindenburg can remain spotted, that Montana should be able to continue to harass here. Now, the Hindenburg, though, he knows that there's an enemy destroyer on back over here, and he knows how much health he's got left because, obviously, he shot at him. So this Hindenburg is going to continuously make things difficult for Storm Surge here by varying his course and speed, something I see a lot of high-tier cruiser players forget that they can do. So this Hindenburg is a pro player here because, as you can see, all those torpedoes ultimately miss. Now, Storm Surge has his guns zoomed in here, and look at the turret position here. We know that guy's getting his turrets around, bringing them back to bear on that Montana. So Storm Surge actually opens up on this Hindenburg, and that is actually a really, really gutsy move, especially considering we've seen how accurate that guy was earlier with his shots. Now, the rear turrets are swinging around here, but look at that. They're lined up, and they don't continue swinging. Yep, that's right. That Hindenburg's firing shots at Storm Surge. So Storm Surge, again, taking a bit of a gutsy move here by opening up on that guy. Drops off detectability yet again, and the Montana landing yet another big hit on that Hindenburg. At this point, Storm Surge has now got an island between himself and the Hindenburg, so the Hindenburg can't actually return fire, mostly because of those flat German arcs and because he can't see Storm Surge. The problem is Storm Surge, with that island in the way, is going to have a hard time hitting that Hindenburg reliably, simply not being able to see and lead appropriately. And now the island is going to block his shots, so none of these are going to hit at this point. Montana pushing up in an effort to cap the A cap point, which is a good thing here. Storm Surge's team all the way up in the 900 points range. Realistically, what they need to do is they need to step on the A cap point and ideally go and step on the C cap point to prevent the enemy team from gaining points and not die. That's literally all they have to do, is not die, and they will win on points. Now, with the Montana stepping on the A cap point, even if he doesn't manage to capture it, this is going to allow his team to gain points at the same rate the enemy team is. So the enemy team can't catch them now. as far as points go. Provided they don't die, again, they will win on points in very, very short order. Storm Surge is giving a wide berth around the sea cap point because he doesn't know where that Hindenburg is. And that's when the Hindenburg is spotted directly by the Montana. So Storm Surge can see how far away that Hindenburg is, and he's got enough time here that he can push up into the sea cap point and step on it as well. Hindenburg manages to reset the Montana yet again. And that's going to cause the Montana some serious problems. And while we can't see the Montana because he's outside of sight range, just know that that Montana is having a serious problem here. Mainly, I think he might be on fire. And he keeps giving broadside to that Hindenburg. And that Hindenburg's guns are a problem. Storm Surge steps on the C cap point as the Montana leaves the A cap point. And more importantly, as the Montana gets taken out by that Hindenburg. Now there's a serious problem. Because a destroyer versus a cruiser, the cruiser is usually going to win, especially if the destroyer gets spotted. Especially if the cruiser has more health than the destroyer. Storm Surge has a set of torpedoes available, but he's going to hold them in reserve, and he's going to wait and see what happens here. He is going to manage to secure the C cap point, and that is once again going to give his team the cap advantage here as they start gaining points. And not a moment too soon, considering that the enemy team almost managed to catch up in points here. They're both in the 950 point range, within 50 points here. And there's not a lot of time left in the game. That Montana dying really did nearly cost them the game. Storm Surge, however, is not going to stick around. He's not going to try and play chicken with this enemy cruiser with so few seconds remaining on the clock, and the fact that his team currently holds a points advantage 10 points away from victory, less than that now. The enemy team 30 points away from victory. The question is, does Storm Surge need to use his guns to reset the cap? And the answer is going to be no, he doesn't at all, and does cap out, does the right thing, disengages, and effectively drops off and hides to win the game on points. Playing for victory, not for that damage number. Only 54,000 damage done in that game, 2 kills there, but 3 solo base captures. That right there is worth XP on a very large scale. But not enough. Oddly enough, his Storm Surge actually ends up 4th on the team there with the Shimakaze and that Montana that managed to get himself burnt to death and killed by the Hindenburg on the enemy team, coming in number 1 and number 2 respectively with 1900 base XP. The Hindenburg, no surprise there, ended up top of the team on the enemy. Anyway, that's it for today's video, folks. If you like the video, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button and leave a comment down below. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you'd like to help support me in the channel, you can do so by becoming my supporter on Patreon. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my channel, or that you'd just like to have me take a look at, you can send it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play various games live, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.